So welcome back to Girls Steam Ahead. Today we have Barb Arnold, a horticultural designer at Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Gardens, and she is going to tell us a little bit about the fun that she gets to do in that job. So Barb, take it away real quick.
Okay, so a quick sort of overview of what I do. I design gardens and exhibits for Franklin Park. So when you come out, you'll see what I do. So the summer annuals, that comes out of my brain. The bonsai show in the show house, my brain. Spring blooms, which is tulips and pansies and all of that good spring stuff, that is mine also. I also do the vegetable collection that we have out on our community garden campus. I write a short little article for the Columbus Dispatch. I answer a ton of email questions, and I work with all of our plant societies. So what I do is incredibly diverse, and I get to see a lot of people.
It sounds like it's a lot of fun too, because you get to be creative. You get to, you get to work with different species of plants. You get to interact with organizations and people, and you get to see probably tens of thousands of people. I don't know how frequently, but enjoy the Franklin Park Conservatory and all of the work that you're doing there. So I know I have. So I enjoy your brain. As you said, it's all a part of your brain.
Well, thank you. I think the greatest honor that we as horticulturalists or myself as a designer has is when somebody stops and takes a photo of whatever it is. It's not only a memory in their head for them, but it is a memory that they're taking and they're sharing with other people. And that's the greatest honor I have.
Well, really what you're creating is living art.
Yes.
That like when you're designing and cultivating that landscape, it's a work of art each year that you get to change and kind of see with all that.
That it is. So, there's new plant varieties and species that come out that we can try. And sure enough, there's always the tried and true that we will always have. We will always have a marigold and we will always have a blue salvia, but there's always something new and different that the plant breeders are working on. And I get to try that too.
That's so fun. So let's start with just like what you're doing right now. What's what's the most interesting project that you've worked on recently, or maybe one that stands out over your time there?
Okay. We'll go with over my time here. So I've been at the conservatory for over 25 years. I'm one of the old folks, as we'll call it. The most interesting, established, experienced. The most exciting thing was our original Chihuly show, which was in 2003. We were the second botanical garden to be able to have Dale Chihuly art, the glass works, and just working with their team was amazing. And I tell this story all the time is we were installing a garden around a piece in the show house, and the team Chihuly was installing some glass fairly close. We were watching them and in awe of what they were doing. And in turn, they were doing the same to us as to how do you see plants that way? What made you want to turn them? And in the meantime, I'm saying the exact same thing to them. And both of us had the same response, was the way it feels, the way it looks, and how you feel and see it. And I definitely think plants are that way. There's always a good side. There's a front and a back. And it's just sort of how it is. And when we lay out beds, we'll move plants because they feel better, or I'll outright say plants are laid out the exact same way that they need to be planted, and they'll have a front side and a back side. As of late, the most exciting thing I've worked on is our Paul Bussey Garden Railroad. So I did the designs for that, and that entailed taking plants that we normally think of as very large and getting them to be mimicked smaller. So I did buy smaller plant material, and they've grown in and done incredible things, but to have it be 4 seasons. So that garden is running starting in April and runs through the first week of January. So it needs multiple seasons of interest. People love coming to see the trains. They love seeing the buildings, which is great, but to make them feel, the buildings and the trains feel connected to us as humans, we need the plant material to soften them, but that plant material needs to have interest in 4 seasons. So anytime you go out there, the garden will look different. So there's spring blooming perennials and summer annuals, and there's an aster out there right now. So this is now October, that is blooming, and it looks like a meadow, which is awesome and so cute. And then it gets lights for our holidays, so December. And when you go out after dark and look at it with the twinkle lights on, it looks totally different. And it sort of makes you feel good that it's bringing such joy to folks. But knowing that they see the plants, but it's just a backdrop, I'm okay with that.
I love hearing you talk about the projects too, because you can see how much you love doing the work that you do, the joy that you find on a day-to-day. And I mentioned, like, one of the things that drew out from that is that it's about connecting people to the exhibits and connecting with them and creating opportunities for them to experience kind of that same feeling that you have. So you can tell the passion that is there. Yeah. So let's like hone in on that passion. Okay. When did you maybe first realize that you absolutely loved working with plants, even before you were a horticulture designer? I'm thinking way back before you were at Franklin Park, or?
Okay, so I guess my story starts with this: as kids, our family vacation were to the state parks, and that way my father had something to do, and my mother didn't have to cook or do laundry and didn't have to make beds. So it was a win-win for everybody. So we did a lot of hikes, and my dad, who when he was in college was a camp counselor, always asked what the trees were. And so I had a need to know what the trees were that we were looking at. And then I got into high school and was kind of like, what am I going to do with myself? And it was expected that I were to go to college. And I decided I wanted to be a park naturalist. Okay, great. What are you going to do with that? And then I actually talked to someone who said, and here's the sad part, is state and federal jobs are really hard to come by in the park system. And generally somebody dies and then a job will open up. And I was like, oh, I don't like this at all. This is not, like, I don't like this. And then a friend of mine's mom said, why don't you look into landscape and horticulture? You'll learn the trees and the shrubs and how they grow and why they grow, and you'll learn the animals and the insects. But what it also does is it gives you a place to go. Like, you have usable skills within the green industry, and what you choose to do, you can decide at that point in time. So I started looking for schools, and then found the Agricultural Technical Institute of The Ohio State University. Talk about a long name on that one too. And it was a 2-year program with landscape contracting and construction. But knowing that I didn't want to be a landscaper, I took some other classes. I took some turf classes, and I took a nursery class, and I took a couple of greenhouse classes, and just sort of built my knowledge on plants that way. And did an internship at SeaWorld of Ohio, and was like, I like doing public horticulture, and I like the idea of people coming to see what you do. And sort of it took off from there. So the design part is, I'm just good at it, I guess is what we'll call it. But it's experience and years of being within the industry, and knowing what works and what doesn't work, and building on everything that I know and learning more every day. So.
Well, and I think, like you've said, you've had the opportunity to see what works and what doesn't, and you get to see it play out, because you're, I'm going to keep calling it like your living art. It's not just like something that you create one day and then you don't see it again. You get to see how it grows and changes over the course of the season or over multiple seasons.
Yes.
You get definitely to learn a lot from that and play with it.
You have to definitely build on what you already know, and you need to build on that know. Let's make that know better and smarter for next time. And it's trying, and I'm glad I took the turf classes in college. I'm glad I took the greenhouse classes in college. It is not a skill that I am currently using, but they're skills I have used in other jobs. And I will say this is, I did work on a landscape crew, and it was not for me. It didn't make me happy, but what I did know was that I never let anybody else fill my wheelbarrow. I'm the one who's pushing the wheelbarrow. I'm going to be the one who fills it. I'm not playing that game with anybody. It's mine. Don't bother it. I know how many plants I can carry. I know how many shovels I can shovelfuls I can take in order to dig the hole. I know that, and I'm not going to let anyone push me around for that. So,
well, and it's important to try experiences and realize that that's not the direction you wanted to go with the interest that you had, because there was a lot that you could do with your, the horticultural background and your love and desire to kind of create with that. And you never know unless you try an experience, right? Like you said, your internship was an experience that was maybe a pivoting point too, because it kind of was like, yes, this is what I want to do.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's getting as much experience early on as possible to build on. Every day you learn something new. If it doesn't work this time, maybe somebody else has a better idea of how to make it work. Talking to peers within who you work with helps, maybe even just talking to friends, like just that kind of stuff. So
now you definitely shared some creative elements of your job that you love, right? So, and the projects that you had a lot of fun on. What about something, maybe that project that you can share that didn't work out so well, that made you really frustrated? Because we know we always have to work through those failures and frustrations, and that's what part of that learning process. I mean, obviously with the landscaping company is one, but maybe more with what you're doing now, so we know that we can work through it and still succeed and enjoy what it is that we're doing.
Years ago, I hurt my back, years ago. And, but I still went out to plant tulips, and the way I plant tulips now is differently than when prior to hurting my back. I just bend at the waist, so my back end is up in the air. And a lot of people say that's not the way to do it, but I can move quickly and get them all in the ground, and my back doesn't hurt. So there's that one. Plant material that doesn't work, like you'll notice pretty quickly. It's within a couple of weeks that it's not real happy. Bigger trees and shrubs, it's a big expense. So you don't want them to die in the ground. So doing the research before they get planted, making sure that the folks that plant the trays are doing it correctly, that it's not too deep or not too high, that they've actually watered it, that they've cut the strings off. It's, just sort of checks and balances along those ways. Things that didn't work. There will always be people you don't like, and they don't like you, but they're not the ones paying your bills. So, you have to work through that.
Personal skills are definitely something you just have to be able to work through in any environment.
Right. There's things I can do that I just don't like doing. I don't like offloading trucks with the tractor. I'm not real good at it. I try real hard to find somebody else to do that. But the things I'm good at, I'm really good at. So Excel files and making sure that the plants are there, and ordering and sweet talking salespeople into helping me find something. I'm good at that one too.
Know your skills, right? And and build a team around you that has skills that complement yours, definitely.
Right.
So now that you're here and you're at 25 years at Franklin?
It's 26.
26. What do you still want to accomplish? Like, what are your dreams for your career? We talk about it being a journey that we're not complete with. Is there a project that you're like, if I could only do this, or I don't even know.
One that I know will never happen is I would like to design the flower beds at the White House, the seasonal flower beds. That
never will never say never.
It's not going to happen. Just because I think there's other red, white, and blue flowers that would work. Let me see what. Gosh. I really like container garden and container garden designs. I'd like to do more of those. I'd like the ability and availability for plants to be better. It's hard to find some plant material. With the pandemic, it has made getting plants a little tougher. A lot of greenhouses and garden centers are also finding it the same way, is that plants are hard to come by, and it's shipping, and that everybody wants to be a new plant mom or plant dad. And it's made the little stuff that we used to take for granted, being the little 4-inch pots that could fill up a planter or fill empty spots within the conservatory, easy to find. They're not easy to find anymore. And even larger plant material. So a 17-inch container with a ficus tree, like those are hard to find. And I think we're going to have this trouble for a while. So, and it's that plants that were in 6s that all sold, that 10 years ago would have been bumped up to a 10 and then a 12 and then a 15 and then to a 17. That's not going to happen because there's plant material missing that they can't put into a pot if they don't have it, if they've already sold it. So there's that. I think we're going to have trouble with finding plants for a while.
It's interesting because you'll have a long-term challenge to think about how that could impact the layout and makeup of those garden spaces. And maybe you'll get to find something, like I said, those cultivators will be bringing you new treats that you get to explore.
Yeah, like fingers crossed that we can find stuff.
Yeah.
Like I love that interior decorators or interior designers are using houseplants. I love that. Fiddly figs were nothing and nobody liked them because the leaves were so big. Well, then Joanna Gaines started using them, and they were in every home that we saw in HGTV. And well, now they're hard to find. But I love that it's plants that she has brought plants back to the forefront.
So then what would be a plant that like is one of your favorites, where if you had the ability to say, this is the one that everybody should have and it goes viral and this is what they should have in their house? A good one, not one that you want to get rid of, but.
Oh gosh. In the house.
Or in their garden, something that you think that is a beautiful plant that maybe gets overlooked or.
Okay. In the house, there are some aglaonemas, which are also known as Chinese evergreens. They're incredibly popular. Usually they're green with green stems, but there are some cultivars that are coming out of Thailand that have pink in their stems, which I love. Just that wonderful shot of color, and they've got pink in their leaves. I love that. And they work well inside because they're, bright indirect light. So it's in the dining room that is very brightly lit. It's got 2 windows but there's no direct sun. Like that's great. Snake plants are also really great. They're easy. I think they're given a bad name. Their common name is either a snake plant or sometimes called mother-in-law's tongue. I think that's not as nice as a snake plant. I think they kind of look like snakes. Upright, take low light, which is awesome. The snake plants also work really well out in the garden, in a container. Crotons are great outside in a summer container. There's a Dracaena called Kiwi that's chartreuse and dark green, which is as pretty as can be. I like that one both inside and out. So it's knowing the condition for both inside and out, and knowing that tropicals and houseplants need to come in when it gets cold outside.
Mm-hmm. I think I have a couple of the plants that you mentioned, so at least I'm on the right track.
Awesome. And I think something important to know is that I have killed more plants than you will ever attempt to grow in your entire life. So
that makes me feel good, right? There's somebody out there that has tried more and
I've killed them. So, and I'm okay with it.
Yes. You can always still practice to see if you have that green thumb on, there'll be one plant that will work, right?
Right.
So any last pieces of just advice or inspiration, ideas from your experience in the field for somebody who maybe is watching and is curious, maybe enjoys plants or enjoys gardening, but hasn't really thought about turning that into a career?
Okay. So when I say the green industry, it means anything that is related to plant material. So it's a garden center or retail, wholesale, there's that. There's greenhouses and garden centers and landscapers and botanical gardens, of course. And as you sort of delve deeper into what you're looking for, is that there's within the green industry, there's something for everyone. And it's you could actually be an accountant for a business that's a landscape company, or a golf course that's, you know, the same thing, or it's a chef that's at a golf course or at a botanical garden that gets to use produce that's grown on the property. That's, you know, pretty amazing that you could even say, you know what, this year I'd like to grow Roma tomatoes for some sort of reason. Like that's kind of awesome too. Business aspect, being a business owner, there's that aspect. But I think the big thing is to try, and there are incredible amounts of options within the green industry and with any job or life as a whole, that there's options, and that if this road's a little bumpy, maybe you need some bumps. Or if it's a straight shot and you're bored, like maybe there's something else to do. So learn as much as you can. That's it. Get as much experience as you can. Every day.
That's great advice. Yes.
Every day you learn something. So.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing what you've learned. And we hope that we've inspired somebody to think green and think about what they can do with plant material as a career choice or as a passion. So we appreciate it. And I hope that everybody gets to go and see some of your work at Franklin Park Conservatory. I know that it'll be on my list here soon with the kids. And I think that's all for this time. We'll hope that you'll join us again for our viewers for one of our next episodes of Girl Steam Ahead.